So this is the work of the Hacham Yaakov Kronenberg. He spent years trying to put this together because he's really a guy whose was interested in astrology, Jewish astrology. Well, very difficult. He found a teacher when he was living in New York many years ago. And this teacher taught him a lot about astrology, but not enough. He needed to keep learning and going deeper and deeper, and he did. He has a website, a YouTube channel, which you could see him in the flesh, and you get an idea of who he is and what he's doing and how his understanding of astrology actually works. But in this book, he actually brought us to the concept of what Jewish astrology is. What's the difference? And particularly when we're coming to the differences between our understanding of the origins of the universe and that of the Gentiles. So the Gentiles have a spiritual concept of the planets, how everything is in sync, because I think part of this drawing that we're seeing here is that all of these circles, which I was talking about yesterday, which are all in one inside of the next, they have different cycles, different manifestations, and our subject here is the 12 different permutations of the name Yud-Ke Vav-Ke, the name of God, and how it is that the light shining through those permutations, and even an origin, they're beyond our ability to understand it, is manifest then through the planets and through the stars into our world. So now we're going to go to the 11th, and with God's help, let me get down here a little bit where we can see it better, the 12th permutation of God's name. So he says the 11th permutation is Hey Yud and Vav K. Now, using the system we've been using before, is the Hey is feminine, then is male. So he starts out with femininity again. This is the sign, incidentally, of Shevat, which is Aquarius. So he says it's K Yud, it's female before male, but then at the bottom end, it goes back to male before female. So let's see how he means this. This is the permutation of the month of Shevat, which is the sign of Aquarius, the water carrier. In this month, the father, that's the Yud, goes down. In other words, it moves to the left. It goes down to the sun. So now you have the Yud and the Vav, which are the two male parts of the name Yud-Ke Vav-Ke, that those are all together. They're together. In the third permutation, which going back to, which is Gemini, you had Yud Vav, you had the two of them together again, and that's the two male parts, and then it went to the two female parts. So that's the month of Sivan. There's the sun, which is Tiveris, moves up to the father and skips over the Hay, and which is Chachma. But in the permutation of Aquarius, what do we understand is it's trying to teach what do we understand about Aquarius. The father, which is the Yud, which is Chachma, goes down to the sun, and now you have the Yud and the Vav together, and the mother, she comes first. The son and daughter in correct order are in the correct order, that is, the Vav followed by the K. But the father and mother had switched roles, with the Hey coming before the Yud. So the real movement, what we're literally learning here, is the father going down to the sun. So in other words, it leaves its place at the beginning and goes behind the Hey. And another explanation is that the second unit, the unit of Vav K, which is, here you have the masculine comes first, which is masculine, because it starts with the masculine Vav, is therefore said to be coming from the side of the right, which is masculine. Now in Kabbalah, you have three sides. You have a right, left, and a middle. The right is masculine, it's a flow downwards. The left is feminine, which is a flow upwards. And the middle is the balance. And that's why it's called, we have this word maskala, in Aramaic, which means the balance scale. So he says that's how we understand it, which is masculine, so that the Vav K, where we have the son and the daughter together, fits into the name Aloka. It fills into the name Aloka, which is another name of God, known as the Shem Elokut, which is made up to the holy name Kale. I think he made up of the holy name Kale, which is Elokut, followed by the letters of Vav and K. Now he says, what are we getting here? We have this word Kale, and we have the Vav K. The first unit, which is K Yud, it starts with the feminine K, so it is associated with the left side with the side of Din. And the name of God, Elokim, which also is associated with it, the name of God, Kale, followed by the K Yud. Now let me read this again. Didn't quite get this. The first unit of K Yud, because that's how the spelling, looking up here at the top here, is a K Yud Vav K. So the first part is K Yud. Where are we? Here we are. Start with the feminine K. So it is associated with the left side of the name of God, which is the second, that is the female side. So Elokim, which is this name, Elokim, and the name Elokim with the name of Kale. So followed by the K Yud. So he says this is Kale, then Kale, which refers, I know I didn't quite get that, what he said about the Elokim, but he says Kale, and then it comes to Vav K. That's that name he was talking about, which is the name Elokut. So he said, so that this teaches us more about the strict judgment, because the name Elokim, which is associated with the name Kale, is a more judgmental name. But when it is in the form of Vav K, where the male comes first, then everything is in balance, and the name Elokim, which is strict judgment, turns into Aloka, which is energy. So now I see what he was trying to say here. He says energy, which is mercy, I'm sorry. So he says, which is strict judgment. So when the so he wants to say like this, as you start the word Kale in this, or you see the female comes first. That's the concept of Elokim, which is judgment. But when you move the Vav and the K together, where they start moving in the proper way, which is the male first and then the female, then you see that it actually is but when it is K, Vav K, that's what he said, then everything is in balance, and the name Elokim, which is strict judgment, turns into the name Aloka, which is a name of mercy. So this is a concept of strict judgment turning into mercy. So the 12th permutation is this: 2 female, followed by Yud and Vav, 2 males. This is the month of Adar. It's the sign of Pisces, the sign of the fish. This permutation also teaches us about the exile of the upper and the lower Shekhinah. Here, the 2 Hays, which one is Bina, that's the first one, and Malchus, which is the second one, go together and are separated from the 2 masculine signs of the Son and the Father, which are Yud and Vav. To female, Yud and Vav. And there is no yichud here. This is all expectation, but no connection. No coming together between the males and the females, causing judgments. So, finishing up, he says, these 12 months, now we went through these 12 months according to the permutations of the name of Hashem. These 12 months are allotted slightly different letter combinations in the 12 permutations by the different schools of Kabbalah. With the famous Moroccan rabbi, Rabbi Lavi, he teaches it one way in his book of Ketim Paz, which is a commentary on the Zohar, compared to the writings of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, who does a slightly different arrangement of the 4 letters. So now we see that, of course, there are different ways to look at the letters too. So they are in agreement, though, with respect to the order of the Yud and the Vav, while the discrepancy arises with the 2 Hays, how they are arranged. but the principle is the same. This we will go into more detail in future lessons. These are the words of the Hacham, Reb Yaakov Kronenberg.